All right, we're recording. So, hi, Brandon. I wanted to bring you on today, and there's just been so much craziness going on in the world. But I guess you know what? First and foremost, are you working from home today?
Not right at the moment. I will be a little bit later. But
Yeah, no, I came into the office too. I wanted to make sure I had a quiet spot away from the kids. So, but you're doing good. Everybody in the house healthy and happy.
So far, so good. How about you?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I think everybody's going stir crazy.
Yep.
I have 5 kids, and so Michigan weather hasn't been great until yesterday, thank God. But so they were cooped up in the house. But I'm glad to get out and get dressed and put some makeup on. I mean, it was like weird. I never thought this morning I would ever think those things ever. Like, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm getting dressed and putting makeup on. Like, I will probably never again feel that way in my life. But today it was kind of a rarity. So, did you put your makeup on and get dressed today too, Brandon? How did it feel?
Well, I did shave today for about the first time in about 10 days, so I understand what you're saying.
I'm sure your wife appreciates that. So Brandon, you want to introduce yourself to people that maybe don't know who you are or where you're calling?
Yeah. So I'm Brandon Adler, and I live here in Jackson, Michigan, and I am a mortgage originator at Cross Country Mortgage. So I help put people into new homes, refinance their homes, whatever the case may be.
Cool. And so kind of the topic for the video today was, there's all of these programs and grants and all kinds of craziness happen around, COVID-19. And so I've been doing a ton of research, not only for my own companies. So my husband and I own multiple companies. So I run Mi Padrino, which is an international, platform. And then we also have a local small business, Gamez Properties, that runs, rental properties. But then, we were in the restaurant business for almost 20 years. And so we had just recently sold that business to my brother and his wife. And so I feel for them. So I've been doing a ton of research to see if there's any programs that can help them, because now, their restaurants shut down for the time being. And then my grandparents are, totally confused with what they can apply for if they don't think they can get any help. And so, and I know yesterday, we talked briefly on Facebook, and I thought, I'm going to bring you on and we can maybe do this together and try to help a bunch of people kind of answer maybe some questions. So you ready?
I'm ready. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, thanks. So stimulus checks. So I need to mute myself. Stimulus checks. So it looks like everybody's going to get $1,200 per adult and $500 per children. So that's 16 and under. So if you have a 17-year-old, I'm assuming they're counted as an adult. Bonus, I have a 17-year-old at home. Woohoo. The only time in my life that it's ever paid off having 5 kids. Ever. Normally it's the bigger car and more food, but I'm cheering over here with 5 kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? And so yesterday I was over at my grandparents' house talking to them from their deck, yelling in, trying to keep our social distance. Isn't it crazy? But she was asking, she didn't think she qualified for that stimulus check, and that's not the case. So it based off your annual income. So if you make $75,000 per person, or it's $150,000 per couple, and you don't necessarily have to even apply for it, but you have to do your 2019 tax return. Have you done your 2019s yet, Brandon?
No, I haven't, and I was trying to figure out, because I've had some people telling me don't do it yet. Some people saying do it. So I haven't even got as far as looking at that for myself.
Yeah, so I've been told in what I've read, which I may be wrong, but after this whole video, I'm actually going to create an article online that I'm going to link with the video that'll have all of these, links all in one spot. So it's really easy to just kind of maneuver through what we're saying and then find the resources available. But what I've read is that you have to file your 2019 tax return for 2 reasons. That's how they verify your income, but it's also how they know where to deposit the check. So you don't have to apply. They said that by April 17th, that they're going to start just depositing your checks in your account, which is pretty sweet. Kind of like Christmas for adults, or like the Tooth Fairy or something. I don't know. So I also will link, New York Times has a ton of frequently asked questions around the stimulus check, so I'll put it in there. So unemployment, have you had to deal with any unemployment at your office, Brandon, at all?
So I've had a lot of clients who have,
yeah.
And I know they're struggling getting through to the system, but it sounds like it's going to be close to $900 to $1,000 for everybody, or is it the?
It's everyone. So originally, I had read that it was the whatever your state minimum is, so it's different. So I think in New Jersey it's like 600 and something. In Michigan, I think it's, what is it, 370 or
That sounds about right. Yeah.
370? And don't mark me for that, but so that's that's the max, excuse me, that you can make per week or from your unemployment check. So the $600 is tacked on. I had read that it was up to 100% of your payroll check, but now it's not. So if you don't even make $900 or $920 in Michigan on a weekly basis and you're unemployed, they're going to give you $920, which is pretty sweet. I mean, for being unemployed, and you're going to have a bigger check than if you were at work. So, I mean, it's not amazing what's happening in our community and in the country and around the world, but wow, what a great opportunity for these people that are unemployed and scared about the future to be able to actually get a full paycheck while they're at home.
Yeah, that was my understanding, because I had a couple of the people that called, and I think it's going to be easier for them to make a paycheck once the unemployment starts hitting, because they're actually going to be making more.
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy. So I'll link some things there for a lot of, my friends and family that are Latinos that are part of DACA, which is like the Dreamers Act. A lot of them won't claim unemployment. And so I did research for them for our community. And I have found that in California, Colorado, New York, and Texas, they are eligible for unemployment benefits, and you should do it. Go and talk to unemployment. You're not going to be penalized when you go and become a resident and become a citizen. And so that's what, the Dreamers, guys, you're not penalized because of this, and you're part of all of the wonderful things that happen in our country. So please take advantage of this. Please do. And then for gig workers, freelancers, and independent contractors. So you're not an independent contractor, right, Brandon? You're an employee?
I am an employee, but as you know, all of our realtor business partners are independent contractors.
Right. And then same thing with us at Meet by the Dino. We work with vendors who are decorators, DJs, venues. Well, venues are, it's a little different, but photographers, these are independent contractors or sole proprietors. So under this relief, that you can also claim unemployment. And so it's under the Disaster Unemployment Assistant, and I'm going to leave the link there, but it's a $600 weekly benefit. I know it won't make up for the thousands of dollars of business that you're losing, but it's something, and you should apply for it. So now jumping into kind of your wheelhouse, mortgages and refinancing. I know at least when I heard when the mortgage rates were dropping, I'm like, oh no, I need to take advantage of all these low rates. So tell me more about, like, if I should do that now, should I wait? Should I go buy something? I mean, like, tell me what I should do, Brandon, because you're the expert.
Well, of course you should go buy something.
I want to go buy a coffee. I haven't had my coffee yet.
So, okay. Mortgage interest rates. 2.5 weeks ago or so. So mortgage interest rates are driven by the bond market, okay? Mortgage bonds. So about 2.5 weeks ago, the mortgage bonds hit like an all-time high, which meant that interest rates were at like an all-time low. And it was a very short window, because what happened at the same time was all of this virus stuff. So the stock market started dropping, and what happened is investors needed, like banks needed money. They have certain requirements they have to meet. So normally when stocks go down, bonds go up. When bonds go up, rates come down. Okay, it's a technical piece. And what happened is
all the way through there, but keep going. I'm almost there with you.
Stocks were falling and bonds were falling, which created a disaster, kind of like a perfect storm. So we actually saw interest rates going up, stocks going down, this virus stuff, and within like 3 or 4 days, mortgage interest rates had jumped up 0.75%. By the end of the week, they were up 1%. Now, that following weekend, the Fed came out and they said, "Hey, we're gonna cut rates. We're gonna cut rates to between 0.25." Well, as a consumer, they heard mortgage rates went to 0. Well, mortgage rates were actually like 1% higher than they were the week before.
I think I'm
So
a consumer. I think I hit up like all of my mortgage buddies, loan officers, and was like, I want to take advantage of it. So anyway,
yeah, I want my 0% mortgage rate.
I want my
So,
0% mortgage rate.
so mortgage rates come from over here, and the Fed controls this over here, which is a short-term rate. And you're going to tell me shut up in a minute, so I'm going to keep going. So what happened is rates shot up, and the Fed started doing some stuff and putting money into the mortgage bond market. Mm-hmm. Simultaneous with cutting their rate over here, which they control. They were giving the mortgage market some money. So we saw these bond prices start going back up, rates kind of coming back down. Rates are not at the same level.
What is the rate today? Like, what is what is that like? So maybe this time last year, do you know, like, or maybe this time, like in a normal market, like what?
We don't even know what more normal is anymore. So we are seeing rates with some 15 years. You can be in the high 2s, low 3s.
Oh, really?
And you can actually see 30 years still in the low 3s in some instances. So there's a lot that goes into it. You know, how much money you're putting down, what your credit scores are, all that good stuff. But you can see some 30-year rates easily in the mid 3s. It kind of depends on the whole picture there. So going with that, you asked when's the best time to apply. Mm-hmm. It depends what, you know, for refinance.
Magic answers, Brandon. I don't know.
This is the magic answer. So what I'm telling a lot of my clients right now is, hey, rates are expected to dip again. We need to be ready. So what we're doing is we're actually doing our refinance applications right now, doing the work, not paying for an appraisal, not locking in a rate, but building up the application so that when we do see rates dip, we can lock it, we can grab that rate, and then be able to close the refinance pretty quickly for them.
So if I'm interested, or if anybody else is interested in potentially taking advantage of a lower interest rate, you should talk to like your local loan officer, get the application, start getting all the stuff you're going to need to turn in, give it to him, and then just say, hey, when you think I should apply, here we go, I'm ready. Is that kind of what you're saying?
100%. Give your loan officer everything they ask for, even if you're like, well, this is stupid, we're probably not going to do it for a month. Get them everything now and have the conversation about what is that magic number? What does it need to be for me to say, yep, for me, that makes sense. I want that rate. And that's kind of how we're setting them up.
Okay. And then with that though, so like normally you have to be employed for X amount of months or years at the same location. And now people are unemployed. Is that going to hurt them? Like doing a refinance or doing a new purchase?
Yes. So this is all new. We're all in this together, okay? So a lot of these rules that are coming out are new. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a couple that's selling their house right now, buying their new house, okay? So what we call a piggyback. Mm-hmm. Got to sell to buy. So both husband and wife laid off, 2 weeks ago when the government shut down, a week ago, whatever. So we're on pause until they go back to work. And actually, we got their loan approved this week, but we can't close until they go back to work and we're able to have our processor do that phone verification and certify that they're back to work at the same level of hours and income.
Okay. So the next topic then is about mortgage payments. So there's been a lot of talk that you don't have to pay your mortgage payment. You don't have to pay your rent payment. You don't have to do all this stuff. And so as, you know, my other business where we're landlords and we have our own payments due, I was like, wait a minute, government, you can't just tell my tenants not to pay because I have to pay the mortgage. Like that's not like, then what happens to me? So tell me a little bit more about that on the mortgage side.
So you have an interesting perspective with what you just said there. You're a landlord. So if your tenant doesn't get a paycheck, it's hard for them to pay you. If it's hard for them to pay you, it's hard for you to pay your mortgage company. If you don't pay your mortgage company, and this is the part that it's difficult to understand. But if you don't make your mortgage payment, your mortgage servicer, which is who collects the payment from you, they probably pay your taxes, they probably pay your home insurance, they probably do not actually own your loan. Okay, so they're a bill collector. So when you don't pay your mortgage company, they still have to pay the principal and interest payment to the investors. So the investors don't care. They want their money. So here's an interesting number. I was on a webinar yesterday listening to the former, this guy named David Stevens, okay, big guy in the mortgage and real estate industry. I think he was one of the 50 most powerful people in real estate. So it's one of the numbers he rattled off is last year, mortgage servicers, I think generated or there was about $10 billion in money, okay? If 25% of the people in our country opt into this forbearance piece, which we're going to talk about, for 6 months, it would stop $70 billion of money coming into these mortgage servicing companies. So think about that for a second. Most of us think we're like, oh, if we don't make our, it's the bank, they're big, whatever.
They got all the money.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing with mortgages, and that's what makes mortgages so different than any other, than your car loan, than your commercial loan, is the people you make your payments to more than likely don't own your loan. So here's what happened. The government signed the CARES Act, okay? It's the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, okay? Part of that has verbiage in it that says servicers of federally backed mortgages to postpone payments for up to 180 days, okay? That sounds great. I'm like, I have to make my mortgage payment for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, it's up to review. And with that servicer, remember, the servicers who you write a check to, they're the bill collector. In these instances, they do not own your loan. A federally backed mortgage would be a conventional loan that's owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, or a government loan, FHA, VA, Rural Development, also known as USDA. Those are backed by an investor, Ginnie Mae, okay? So if your loan falls into one of those categories, you can call your servicer. I've been impacted by the COVID-19. My income has been impacted by the COVID-19, and you should be able to get a forbearance of up to 6 months.
Okay, so wait a minute. So you're telling me, I'm Kim, I pay my mortgage to X bank. I don't know who they pay to. Like, how do I find that out?
You got to call. So I'm going to say this 15 times. You have to call your mortgage servicer, the bill collector, and you have to say, hey, my income's been impacted by COVID-19. What kind of options do I have? And they're going to be able to look it up. Now, technically, and I'll get I had the links on the Google Doc, and I took them off. I'll put them back on. Okay. Technically, you can go on to Fannie Mae's site and Freddie Mac's site and type in some basic information and find out if your loan is owned by them.
Okay.
So you call, and servicer agrees to forbear payments for 6 months. Well, at the end of, that's a suspension, okay? At the end of 6 months with a and this forbearance is not new. What's new is the government saying, hey, if you've been impacted, you attest to your mortgage servicer that you've been impacted. In the past, you had to prove a hardship to qualify for forbearance. So these forbearance rules have already been in place for years.
And then to kind of like skip ahead. So basically it's just the forbearance. What is it? You pay, you don't ever have to pay that part of your mortgage? Is it like Christmas again? Or what does that mean?
No. So if you do a 6 month forbearance, technically speaking, at the end of 6 months, you're going to have 6 payments due, maybe 7, depending on the time.
Yeah, then like one time, like, hey, and what, so wait, what's in 6 months? 6 months is September, right? Maybe?
October.
So at Halloween, you're going to be like, hey, here's all of your payments that are due now, like at one point, maybe? I guess it probably depends on the bank, but.
here's a check for 6 months payments.
Oh my
Now
gosh.
think about this. So most people, this is not going to work for. Um, this is not a freebie. This makes zero financial sense. Okay, there's no financial benefit. Well, at the end of 6 months, if you don't have the money to pay, now your servicer has to try to work out a deal with you. So what they might do is try to treat it like an escrow overage, or I'm sorry, shortage, which most of us have dealt with in the past, and take the deficiency, maybe divide it by 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, maybe 12, and bump up your monthly payment to pay that amount back. If that's not going to work, that's when they have to try to do a modification or deferment. Now, these rules might change Monday from what we're talking about today,
Right.
because this is new stuff. But that modification, to add that on the back, is a lot more complicated than we think of it to be, because what that investor that owns, or that mortgage servicer, what they have to do when a mortgage loan is closed, they take a whole bunch of loans together and they put them in what they call a pool, and they sell them on Wall Street, and it's called a mortgage-backed security. Well, what they have to do, they have to pull that loan out of that mortgage-backed security, fix it, and put it into a new one. It's a huge deal. Now with that, okay, so we don't care about that, but think about this. If you don't make your payments for 6 months, you got taxes due. You've got insurance due. So let's say you don't make your payments for 6 months and you figure that piece out. You're going to have an escrow shortage. All of us that have mortgages have had an escrow shortage at some point. And so if your escrow payment's $300 and you don't pay for a year, you're already $300. Your mortgage payment's going to probably have to go up another $300 to pay that back.
Okay, so I know you're going to list some additional links and some helpful tips in the article that I'm gonna publish. But really quick then, so then there's deferred payments. So if you are a commercial business, a lot of times your loan isn't necessarily government backed. So I know I reached out to my banker day one and just said, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, what can you offer me? One of our loans said that they could defer payments, which means that I don't actually have to do that like big lump sum at the end. Another one of my commercial loan officers said, hey, you can just pay interest. And so at least I had options, and it was better than making full payments. But yeah, so that's an opportunity I know as well. And then on the rental side, if you are renting, if you're an individual who's renting, you still have to pay your rent. Okay, guys, you still have to pay your rent. But what the landlord can't do, is what I've read, is if you are a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, what Brandon was talking about, loan, if your landlord has that kind of loan, they can't evict you during this whole mess. And so, in all honesty, as a landlord, even though my loan isn't backed by Freddie Mac, I wouldn't evict you anyway, just because I know my tenants are going through something and will catch up. But it's not like your rent's going to be forgiven. You're going to have late payments and everything else. So just try to stay up on your rent. So claim unemployment. Use these opportunities that I'm going to talk about in a minute to get grants and things if you are a small business owner or a freelancer. But it's not just like sit at home and your payments are going to go away and everything's going to go away. You do have to do some work. Was there anything else we wanted to talk about with all that, Brandon?
So with, kind of last piece there I'm going to preach is you have to call your mortgage servicer, and you have to talk to them, and don't get mad at them, because it's not, they typically don't have control over what they can say you can do. Now, with some of the other changes under the CARES Act, my buddy Brian Forward over at Edward Jones got me this awesome sheet that has like all the bullet points. I'll send it to you.
But link it in the article for them.
Okay. There is an elimination of the early withdrawal penalty in some retirement accounts. So, if you have somebody and you're off, consider it might be better to look at borrowing from your 401k or taking a withdrawal to cover those payments versus the forbearance.
Interesting. Or you can go back to like refinancing your house, or maybe pulling an equity line out and take advantage of the low rates. Maybe.
Equity lines are an awesome idea too.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I wanted to jump in just because I don't want to get too far in the weeds on any one topic, but for small business owners and those independent contractors, I have done so much research now. I feel like I'm an expert in all of the loans. I've went to so many webinars and everything because I want to make sure I'm taking advantage for my own personal businesses on everything that's available. So I just wanted to quick go through some of those things. And I know this is actually how we connected yesterday, Brandon, right? Because your father has a small business.
Yep.
You were trying to help him and you're like, hey, Kim, can you help me with this? And so I'm like, yeah, actually, come on and let's do this together because you could help me kind of on the personal side. So there is some programs by the SBA. So that's a Small Business Administration. They have a business disaster loan. So what that is they can loan up to $2 million and it's and the interest rate of 3.75. Before, if you've ever tried to apply for an SBA loan as a small business, it would take hours. I mean, like I looked at it when this first launched and I thought it'd take me probably 8 hours to get through the application. They ask for everything and they need you to fill things out. And they like for every person who, I mean, it was just like ridiculous, but good news. As of, I believe yesterday, they launched a new site that I'll link below in the article. And it takes about 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes to get through. And so, and at the end of the application, they say, if you qualify, we will immediately, if you qualify, not if you get approved, if you qualify, we will immediately send you a $10,000 deposit or loan that will go right into your bank account. So literally you fill it out. They ask you like, if you look like you could be approved, we will send you $10,000 within a matter of days. So I'm going to put that link in the article. If you are a small business owner, a sole proprietor, take advantage of that to see what you can get. There's also a program called the Paycheck Protection Program. And so what that is a fully forgiven. Do you know what fully forgiven means, Brandon? I'm sure you do. It means you got to pay it back.
Opposite of what I was saying.
Complete opposite of the bad news you were sharing. It is fully forgiven. So it is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll cost plus contracted employees. Okay. So realtors out there, your boss who pays you, you're contracted, typically an employee. He should be able to get 2.5 times the average payroll cost plus the contracted employees' wages. They pulled up into what they can get approved for. So it's 2.5 times that. And so I'm going to link to, there's this valley.com. I found this amazing calculator. You just like put in the information and then it'll tell you, whoop, you should be approved for this amount of money. Now, again, it's not a holiday. It's not free money for you to go on vacation and continue to lay your employees off. You have to bring your employees back on full time. You have to pay them, obviously, but the funds can go to payroll as well as utilities, mortgage payments, the healthcare benefits, and even if you're like, you pay rent or, you have a lease. And how to apply, you don't do anything online. This Paycheck Protection Program is actually through your local commercial banker. So if you deal with someone in your local community about commercial loans, you're going to reach out to them. They're going to give you a checklist. They're going to give you an application, and they're going to give you just some basic information. But because I've already done this, I have it linked below, your checklist of everything that you're going to need. I would suggest either maybe starting a Google Drive account if you don't have one. It's free. Creating a Google Drive account and then just putting everything in one folder and then just sharing that link with your loan officer, because then if you have some things that you can't find, you can at least start the process, share the link with them. And then as you update things in that folder, they have access to it, and that's completely free. So there's a checklist. It is a list, but go through and get everything on that list, send it to your bank, and that they can be approved. And they actually, as of today, April 3rd. April 3rd, they are starting to accept applications to that. And I believe all of these programs, whether it's the SBA loan, the Paycheck Protection, it's first come, first serve. They only have a certain amount of money that they can deploy. And so if you want this money, you got to do it now. Okay. So I know you're at home, take some time, do this. Do you have any questions about that, Brandon?
Well, like you said, my dad owns a small business, and we actually just got that stuff yesterday, and we're starting to look through it. But that is That's really interesting. I didn't know there was limited money. So if you had to guess, how long do you think it's going to be before that runs out?
I have no idea. And maybe I'm wrong about limited money, but I've been told by there is limited money. The government only opened up X amount of dollars. So there is limited money. I don't know what the limit is for the paycheck protection opportunity, but guys, it's fully forgiven. You just have to do what you're supposed to do with the money. And it's paying your employees, paying your rents, paying your mortgage, paying utilities, running your business off of money that you can get for free. And so take advantage of it. I know I've already applied. I mean, this came in my email, and that day I applied, and my banker said, well, I can't actually do this till Friday. And I'm like, well, it's there on your desk. I want to be the first one that goes through. There's also the small business. Okay, guys, here's another one, 10,000 bucks. Small business there's economic development has an opportunity for small business owners, sole proprietors to apply for a $10,000 grant. Again, $10,000 in money to help your business get through this awful time. As far as for Michigan and even for Jackson at a lower level for all of our friends that are watching here locally, I will give links to how you can find, whether you're in a different state, how to find your local economic group. Or if you are in Michigan, there's going to be a link there. Or if you're in Jackson with me, I will show you the actual application that you will fill out. And it's a $10,000 grant for small businesses that have been impacted by this. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I know. I keep talking. Like yesterday, again, with Meet by the Dino, we work with decorators. So my friend Heather, who owns NBS Events, I saw her post on Facebook, and it was just heart-wrenching. They've lost events. These brides want to change dates. They have to, refund money, or they have to postpone things that they weren't planning on. And these are, again, just like small business owners that weren't prepared for this, change in their lifestyle and their life with their business. And they're also maybe not, no offense, Heather, I'm sure you're probably watching this, but they're maybe not the most business savvy and don't know how to access programs like this. Or when they do, it's so much. I mean, it's just like, what am I reading? I don't even know what these things are. Girls and guys, please, take advantage of this really simple list and take the time to answer the questions that are in these applications to the best of your ability and just apply. The worst case scenario, you'll get denied. The best case scenario, you'll get money for your company that you need right now. So do you have anything else you want to add or any questions, maybe, Brandon?
I don't think I do, but that information that you've given me is super helpful and hopefully I'm hoping I can get my dad in with some of that to keep his small business running. And I've been wondering how the people with small businesses, like you just said, how they're going to survive. And this is how they're going to survive. They need to do this.
But no one's going to do it for you. So your dad probably reached out to you and was like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't know how. So if you are maybe a little more tech savvy or business savvy, if you know of a small business, if you can help them, hence why I'm doing this video. I know lots of small businesses that are impacted. Try to see if you can help. Take a couple minutes. It won't take you that long to explain a term or to tell them where they can find something. Or if you're watching and you know someone the video or the link will be useful, share it. I mean, just everyone has to help. Whether it's you're one of the frontliners and you're taking care of the sick, or you're one of the scientists trying to come up with a vaccine, or you're Brandon trying to make sure that we can pay our mortgage payments. I mean, everybody can help. We just all got to do our part. So with that, Brandon, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Kim. Always a pleasure.
All right, awesome. Well, and until then, stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy, guys. See you later.
See ya.